So we got a little update the other day. This article is from AP News about Trudeau revoking the emergency powers, but the emergency powers were allowing them to, I mean, everything from finding, arresting, taking your animal if you had an animal. If you didn't claim the animal after so many days, they would euthanize the animal, the dog, little puppies, little kittens, whatever. Freezing bank accounts. They already, through their government, shut down fundraising efforts. Then they went after the actual bank establishments themselves, anyone who was donating, anyone who was participating, whatever. And then we'll get into an article in a minute from the Ottawa Chief of Police saying that, hey, even after you guys go home, if we have a record that you were participating in these protests, we're still going to come after you and still get you. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why you should even stop. But I guess the pushback was a little bit too much. So Trudeau revoked his emergency powers, and we'll read this for a minute. But it says, after the Canada blockades end, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Wednesday he is removing emergency powers police can use after authorities ended the blockades at the borders and the occupation of Ottawa by truckers and others opposed to COVID-19 restrictions. Trudeau said the threat continues, but the acute emergency that included entrenched occupations has ended. His government invoked the powers last week, and lawmakers affirmed the powers late Monday, which is another alarming thing. Not only did this dude say, hey, we're going to kill your dogs and we're going to freeze your bank accounts, but he was supported by lawmakers and whatever their system looks like. I'm sorry, I'm kind of fading out here. I was because I was watching the next article we'll get into talks about the Ottawa Chief of Police I was talking about, and it was a live conference, and it's just mind blowing to me to see the stark differences of people. So in like the chat. In this live video, they had the chat going, right? And so you had people that were like, this guy's a tyrant. We got to get rid of him. Got to get him out of the office. He's the worst, whatever. And going after them, right? Saying this is treasonous. This is this and that. And you have people over here saying, Trudeau's the best we've ever had. He keeps winning. He's going to win this. He's going to win another election. We love him. And it's just, are people not seeing the same things or, hello? Are they seeing the same things, but because of the thing that I talk about a lot is the perspective from which they see things are getting different things out of it. And traditionally speaking, statistically, and Tim Pool has spoken about this several times. So I give him a lot of the credit for this because he is Mr. Thorough in researching stuff, him and his team. And one of the things he was saying is that conservatives, Republicans, whatever, if you're mostly on the right or center right, you tend to get news from and look at things from the perspective of both sides, including watching CNN, MSNBC, whatever. Whereas people on the left tend to only get the news from people on the left, from sources that are very left leaning, which gives them this echo tunnel here that just, echo chamber rather, that all they see is the same ideology they have. They're never really introduced to any opposing ideology. They don't sit down and talk to somebody who has opposing ideology, and it never gives them the opportunity to really open their mind. Whereas the right or moderate on either party really tend to go on both sides and hear it from different points of view, and that really empowers them. So it's unfortunate that the larger majority of this country, I can say, which is Democrats, is the larger voting bloc, are less open-minded, even though they tend to promote open-mindedness. So I'm hoping that changes over time. I'm just really disappointed that our mainstream media continues to lean both in news and entertainment to the left so heavily that they are really pushing an entire, portion of their audience away. Where, comedians and show hosts like Bill Maher, for example, has finally, and I wish I would have pulled something up on him now that I think about it, but Bill Maher is finally kind of seeing the error of his ways and standing back and seeing the left just drift or shoot further and further to the left as he stands by, and he doesn't even recognize the party anymore. So he's just one example, of course, but even people like Joe Rogan, that we'll talk about again a little bit, who is kind of a center left dude, is really standing back and just blown away about how far the left is going. But the left never looks to the right, never really, and some people do. And I applaud you if you do. I'm not here to criticize you. I am criticizing the population as a large. And on both sides, very seldom do we sit down and have meaningful conversations between two opposing sides. I got a good buddy of mine, and he watches the show, so thank you, Dustin. But he and I actually agree on quite a few things, politically, even though I think we come from different sides of the spectrum there, and we disagree on some things. We always have meaningful conversations. I don't think there's ever been a time that either one of us have walked away angry with each other. I'm a Christian. He is not. And even in just talking about general topics, because I try not to dive too deep into that with him, we treat each other with respect. We walk away still respecting each other, thinking about what the other person said. And like I say, that's true for religion, politics, or other worldviews. And even though he may not change my mind, or I may not change his mind, it does give us that different perspective from which to see things. And honestly, I just think that makes people significantly better. Their minds are open, and I'm willing to be wrong. And so is he. And that's what makes our conversation so enjoyable, is that when you go into a conversation knowing you're right and unwilling to change your mind, there's no point in the conversation. You're just there to give a lecture, and you're just listening for your turn to talk. But when you're listening with an open mind, receiving what's being said to you, and then adding to the conversation, and it is a two-way street, man, that is really when we grow. I know I just chased a big old rabbit hole here from Trudeau, but I just had, we've got to try to find ways to get on the same page, or to find those compromises. Because right now everyone is going so far left or so far right that no one is wanting to meet in the middle. And the ones that are, the small, I think is a good portion actually, but we'll call it the small minority of folks that are trying to meet in the middle, are, disowned and ridiculed by both the left and the right for being traitors or whatnot, because they are trying to find that middle ground, that compromise. So it's incredibly silly to me, but I digress. We'll continue on. Here's the other article I was talking about. It says Ottawa's police chief says criminal investigations into Freedom Convoy will continue for months. So, and I did try to find the little video clip that I was talking about. It was part of a longer interview, so I didn't grab it out of there. I didn't see it, but I did see it on several other accounts. Guys, I'm sorry for the yawning. That CrossFit will do a number on you. But I know I did see it on Louder with Crowder, and I want to say I saw it on again Tim Pool probably, or one of Tim Pool's 300 channels he's got. But it was on what were both of those? I know I saw it on Louder with Crowder, where they talked about it and showed the clip. But he's asked, like, what about, the people that have already packed up and left? He goes, oh no, they already broke the law. I'm going after them still. So it's interesting to see that they have thrown everything they could after these protesters. What do they try to call them? I think they call them occupiers or something like that. Anyways, we'll look into it. He's not even the voted in police chief, because the elected police chief left during all this. This is the interim police chief. It says Ottawa's interim police chief says the investigation into a 3-week occupation of downtown Ottawa will continue for months to come. On Saturday, police cleared Wellington Street in front of Parliament Hill of protesters for the first time since the demonstration began on January 28th. As officers began moving into the downtown core on Friday, several vehicles left Wellington Street, Kent Street, and other streets in the area. However, Interim Chief Steve Bell says the investigation will not end when the demonstrators leave the streets of Ottawa. If you are involved in the protest, we will actively look to identify you and follow up with financial sanctions and criminal charges. This investigation will go on for months to come. It has many, many different streams, both from a federal financial level, from a provincial licensing level, from a criminal code level, from a municipal breach of court order, breach of court injunction level. Former police chief Peter Slawley said at the start of the demonstration that police would be gathering intelligence on protesters and pursuing charges if necessary. In addition, yada yada, were seen with video recorders around the chateau on Friday. So yeah, they're going through extremes to identify these people and take them out. And I know this is Canada, not America, but I can see this happening here, which, boom, we're going to get into that in just a second. But here, I can see them going to just as much extremes to identify peaceful protesters that are standing up for, the right to choose whether they get vaccinated or not. Again, these people aren't protesting the vaccine. They're protesting the vaccine mandates because they want to have the right to choose. My body, my choice, right? That saying is okay for some, but not for others. So that's interesting to see there again, hypocrisy, right? So I see them going through the same efforts here in the U.S., but they won't go through the same efforts for, like I said, people actually literally burning down buildings, killing people, destroying entire towns and the livelihoods of the people that live in those towns and in the communities. So they kind of have a hands-off approach on that. People say, hey, we're taking over this area and it's going to be Chad or Chaz or Chop or whatever. And they're like, okay, well, y'all just stay in there and do your thing. Whatever, man. There's just so much stupidity right now. And we'll get to Ukraine and Russia in a minute, because those guys, we got some of them building military of some of the most hardcore individuals that walk the earth. And then we're, with several other large countries building a military full of, all kinds of diversity and inclusion and everything like that, because we want to make sure that that's what we're all about in our military. Doesn't make any sense. So from Fox News, Pennsylvania truck convoy close to D.C. We're the tip of the arrow right now, organizer says. The first of multiple trucker convoys slated to arrive in Washington, D.C. in the coming days departed from Pennsylvania this week and were a few miles outside the Capitol Wednesday, one of the organizers told Fox News. I'm sorry. Can you guys see this? It went away. There it is. Hunter Biden's disgusting laptop computer repairman reveals what made him call FBI. I just call that out because you gotta love the reminders that that laptop's out there. Anyways, Bob Ballas, who owns a trucking company, said his convoy departed Scranton on Tuesday in an effort to grab attention of lawmakers behind COVID-19 mandates and restrictions, not the vaccine itself, but mandates and restrictions. On Wednesday evening, he told Fox News he was 30 miles from the Capitol and bumper-to-bumper traffic. He earlier promised to cause gridlock, disruptions in the Capitol Beltway, as well as delay. He earlier promised to cause See, there they go again. Cause. Just cause, not caused. Gridlock and disruptions on the Capitol Beltway, as well as delays. And DC prepares, and they're sending troops there for that too. So they got to send everybody to DC. Everybody's going to DC. Hey, we got a peaceful protest coming. Oh, well, you better send the National Guard and everybody and military and, whoever else. Oh, we've got the State of the Union coming up and a lot of people don't like Biden for some reason. Oh, you got to send the military, put up the fences and everything. If it's that big of a problem, maybe the problem isn't the convoy. Maybe the problem isn't, the people that don't like this administration. Maybe the problem is the administration. I know half the country disagrees with that, but a whole nother half it's just, I have not seen this. I saw a lot of hate for Trump. I did. And a lot of that fueled by the media. Now, whether it was justified or not, I can't say, because everyone has their own take on different things, right? But what is really amazing here is the amount of hate toward this administration, especially given the fact that the mainstream media has been shilling for this dude and this administration the entire time. They are still talking about Trump. They are still talking about January 6th. They are blaming this current crisis in Russia and Ukraine for gas prices going up, even though they've been up since Biden's been in office. And he closed pipelines and stuff. Like, they are doing everything they can to cover for this guy in this administration. But yet he is still probably as hated, if not more hated than Trump. I know there's plenty of polls out there. I don't know which polls to believe. I mean, obviously, that's a question in and of itself, because we saw polls saying Hillary was going to win. You know, we saw polls that Trump was going to win against Biden. So, you know, it was a free and fair, you know, legitimate election, I'm sure. But it's just amazing how you have everyone supporting this administration, but then yet so many people are seeing through the smoke and mirrors. I think Americans are waking up to find out what mainstream media is all about and whose pocket they're in. And if you're watching this, I hope you have too, because us independent content creators, we serve no masters. I mean, we serve to bring you the news, the information. I'm going to tell you right now, if that little subscribe button is red, hit it and subscribe to my channel. I got more shows coming out. You know, like the video, share the video, comment. And I say to do all that for a couple of reasons. One, don't want you to miss out on anything. Number two, it helps the YouTube algorithm so more people see it. And three, to be transparent, I'm not trying to get rich off of this. My goal is to be a filmmaker. I don't care about this. This is to bring a different perspective of the news and a more transparent telling of what's out there, you know, without serving the, you know, Pfizer gods or whoever that corporate media does. So my hopes is that this can get out to more people to hear the truth, or to hear, you know, a different perspective, or however you want to look at it, versus the same old narrative that they're hearing from mainstream media. So if you want to like, share, comment, that's awesome. I'm not going to beg you to do it. If you want to do it, do it. Awesome. I appreciate it. If not, hey, leave a hateful comment. Tell me how terrible I am. Or if you think I'm bald up under this hat. Basically, I am. Spoiler alert. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.